Hello and welcome to Knuckle Sandwich. Holy smokes, my friends. We got us a card. We've got us a card. We've got us a card. Yes, it is UFC Vegas 11. Covington versus Woodley. Now, this card is stacked. Not only is it stacked, but there's a lot of fights. I mean, we're talking 14 fights, I think. Yeah, normally it's 12. Sometimes it's 10, depending, but we got 14 fights. I'm going to go over just the names of the cards on the fights on the preliminary card, and then I want to go into a little bit of detail on the main card and the fights that are happening there. Okay, so man, I am so stoked for this card. It is a great card to finish out the summer, and I cannot wait. So let's go over the preliminary card. First up, we have. Let's see. We've got Jordan Espinoza versus David Vorak. And we also have Mirsad Bekik versus Damon Jackson. Now, Mirsad, I saw him fight in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. And he fought, oh man, what's his name? I just had it. Anyway, I saw him get knocked out, and I was actually standing right next to his brother, and who was watching the fight. And we were chatting the whole time, and I really like Mirsad Bekik. He is a good fighter, but he's had a couple of ups and downs. His UFC, record is kind of hits and misses, but he's a really good, exciting fighter, and I expect that to be a really good fight as well. Next, we have Mirna Bueno Silva versus Mara Romero Barella. And then we also have Jessica Rose Clark versus Sarah Alpar. Next up, we have Journey Newsom versus Randy Costa. And then we have Andrew Ewell versus Erwin Rivera. And to round it out, we've got Derek Minner versus TJ Laramie. And lastly, we have Tyson Nam versus Jerome Rivera. So there's going to be a lot of action in this fight. Last fight card, UFC 10 in Vegas 10 was so exciting. And man, it was just thrilling. And for this not to be a pay-per-view, I'm pretty excited about that. They have added a whole bunch of fights. So I'm just kind of beside myself. I can't wait. Woohoo! All right, you guys. Next up, let's go to the main card, and I'm going to start from the bottom like I normally do and go up to the top. And then I want to get into a couple of the fights a little more in depth of my thoughts and see what you guys think. Okay. So starting out on the main card, we have Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. Now, I see huge things for Kevin Holland. This dude is long, and he's a good fighter, and he's a quick turnaround. He's one of these guys that wants to keep fighting. Very quick turnarounds for Kevin Holland. And Darren Stewart, this should be a really good fight. Darren Holland's record is 18-5. Kevin Holland, excuse me. Kevin Holland's record is 18-5. Darren Stewart is 12-5. So it's going to be a competitive fight. Okay, we don't have any soup cans here. And then so that's but Kevin Holland, man, he's just got a unique style. You know, I don't know how to compare him to other fighters. He's really unique. I really like his style, and he's very calm, very calculated, and patient. So I'm expecting some great things from him, and I'm going to pick Kevin Holland to win this fight. Okay, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know Darren Stewart, but I know Kevin Holland, and I've seen him fight, and I've seen that he's really creative and super tough, and he hits hard too. He doesn't look like he does, but he hits hard. All right, next up we have the women's strawweight fight, and that is Mackenzie Dern, who is 8-1, with Randa Marcos, who is 10-9. So Randa Marcos has been around for a long time, had a lot of fights, and her record, her record doesn't show how good she has become. Okay, so I'm going to touch on that a little bit because Randa Marcos has come a long way. She has improved her grappling skills. She's good on the ground, and her striking is better than Mackenzie Dern's, that's for sure. Mackenzie Dern is definitely a jiu-jitsu specialist. I believe she's a black belt, but I'm not sure on that. However, she's great on the ground. She's fantastic on the ground. So the difference in styles, we've got Randa Marcos. She doesn't have knockout power, but she's good on her feet. And if she can touch Dern up, Dern tends to swell easily on her face if she gets tagged. So there's a good possibility that she could, inflate one of the eyes or whatever. But if Dern gets her to the ground, it's going to be in her wheelhouse. So she's happy on the ground and she looks for submissions. Really, really good grappler and jiu-jitsu specialist. So if it again, it's the old story. If it stays on the feet, I'm going to go with Marcos by a decision. If it goes to the ground, I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern by submission. So I think that's the way it's going to go. Where's my money, you ask? Well, my money is going to be on Mackenzie Dern because once she goes to the ground, she has a lot of tools. So that's my pick there is Mackenzie Dern. Let's move on up to the light heavyweight fight. And this is Johnny Walker, Mr. I don't even know what the word is. He is very unpredictable, Mr. Unpredictable. That's what we'll go with for Johnny Walker. He's 17-5 versus Ryan Spann, who is 18-5. And Ryan Spann is really, really good on the ground. Again, this is another, styles make fights, you guys. And Johnny Walker is, he's very unpredictable on the feet. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. And he takes a lot of chances, but he leaves his chin out there. And he's been knocked out a few times. And Ryan Spann is also, he's very patient, very calculating. And if he gets Johnny Walker on the ground, it's going to go to Spann, in my opinion. I think he will submit Johnny Walker. But it's going to be an exciting fight as long as Walker can keep it on the feet, man. If he keeps it on the feet, he has a really good chance of winning this fight as well. So again, it's a tale of of two cities basically. Is it going to stay on the feet or is it going to go to the ground? And both have strong, arguments for either one. So that one, I'm going to pick a winner because I believe after reviewing some of their past fights and also their interviews and so forth, I'm gonna pick Ryan Spann on this one. I know that may surprise some of you, but I think Spann is going to be able to get Johnny Walker to the ground because Johnny Walker throws out a lot of high kicks and stuff like that. And if Spann gets one of those legs, he will take Johnny Walker down to the ground. And I believe he'll take him down easy. I don't think his takedown defense is super great. So if Spann gets it to the ground, I think it will be over by submission or TKO. I don't know if I don't know if Ryan Spann will ground and pound him that much. I think he'll go for submission, but I believe he'll get it too. So I'm going to go with Ryan Spann on that fight. Next up, we got another guy that's a quick turnaround. I mean, Dana White's putting a lot of push behind this fighter, Khamzat Chimaev, and he's the dude that's he fought back to back. I think it was 2 weeks or 10 days apart, and won both of them by first round TKOs. And he's a good ground and pounder. They're comparing him to Khabib Nurmagomedov, but I believe this guy's got his own. He's cocky. So his personality right off the bat is different than Khabib's, but he's a really good fighter. He doesn't seem to have any fear, and he thinks that his opponent Gerald Meerschaert he's gonna walk right through him. So that's going to be interesting. So this is a middleweight fight, and Chimaev is 8-0 right now, and I think this will be his third fight in the UFC, I believe, versus Gerald Meerschaert, and he is 31-13. Meerschaert has a lot more experience, obviously, you can tell by the number of fights that he has. And he's got a pretty good ground game too. Now, I've heard tell that Gerald tends to gas out. He's going to be good for 1 or 2 rounds. And then after that, he starts to gas. So I'm going to make my prediction here. I'm picking Chimaev Khamzat because he just seems to have, well, he hasn't really been proven. Okay, let's just be honest. All right, he's knocked out or submitted or TKO'd his opponents in the first round. So if he's pushed to the second and third round, how much of a gas tank does he have? He looked like he was in good shape when they did the face-off, and but he's also a lot younger than Meerschaert as well. So Meerschaert said he's gonna test him and see if he can hang. And basically, I think what he's trying to say is, you know, I'm going to test his cardio and see. But you know, wow, that's not a tough one for me to pick because I already have a winner in mind of what I'm picking. But I want to kind of balance out the argument because there's a lot to be said on both sides. And I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I do know that Chimaev hits really, really hard, and but his ground game, man, that's going to be the interesting part right there. When they go to the ground because they're both kind of strong, will experience, you know, eke out, or will it weigh more than youth and strength? That's what's going to be interesting. But I'm pretty sure that this fight is going to go to the ground. It will not be, you know, it will not end on the feet. I can guarantee you that. So my pick for the middleweight fight is going to be Khamzat Chimaev, and I think he's going to maybe not submit Gerald, but I think he's going to ground and pound him like he did his 2 previous fights. Will it go 3 rounds? I doubt it. I don't think so. I'm going to say in the second round, he's going to end it. All right. So we're getting close, you guys. Okay. Now we have the co-main event, and that's a welterweight fight. We got Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who is 36-15, versus Nico Price, who is 14-4. And judging from the face-offs yesterday, Nico Price is definitely bigger than Cerrone. He's got a lot more muscle mass, and he's a crazy fighter. He's like Cerrone. You know, they want to go out there and have fun. I know Cerrone I believe he's on a 5-fight losing skid. You know, he just has not had good luck lately. And you know, Dana White, I read in an article that Dana White said he must win this fight. Okay. Donald Cerrone must win this fight. And Donald Cerrone, by his own words, he said, I don't want to get handed walking papers. I want to leave of my own accord, basically. And I'm not ready to leave yet. So there you go. Which Donald Cerrone is going to show up? You know, if he can stay at length and work his game, he can win this fight. But also, I think if Nico Price and Donald Cerrone, make no mistake, he's got a really, really great ground game. Okay. But I think if Nico Price can close the gap, he's going to be able to wear Cerrone down. And I'm thinking if that's the case, it's going to be TKO with the winner going to Nico Price. But if he tries to go to the ground, Cerrone has a better ground game than Nico Price. Okay. Again, styles make fights, man. I love the way the matchmakers think about these things. I don't think they say, hey, this guy would be good to fight this guy. I think they weigh all kinds of statistical analysis when they're doing their meetings, and they're trying to match fighters to each other and who has strengths where, to make sure that it's not just a kickboxing match, and to make sure that it's not just a wrestling match. They want to make sure that they put the styles in there that are going to force people out of comfort zones, which is really important too, because you don't want to have 2 grapplers in there. And sometimes that happens, but if it's technical and there's a lot of role reversals on the ground, hey, that's great. I love those fights too. I'm not bored by those fights. But when there's lay and pray and just holding people down, that I do not like. So the way that they're matching these folks, these fighters up, I'm super excited about, because I think they've done some great matchups on this card. Okay, so who am I picking? This is tough. This is tough. I am going to go with, and this is going to surprise you too, I'm going to go with Donald Cerrone. That's right. I know what you were thinking. No, I'm going with Donald Cerrone because I think if he gets Nico Price to the ground, he's going to choke him out. I think he's going to end the fight by submission. All right. So that is my pick there. Go Donald. We need to see more of Donald Cerrone in the UFC, because he's one of those guys that's go-to guys. But you know what? The trend is now everybody wants to fight all the time, and it's all these new guys coming in. They want to fight. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about Michael Chandler, who the UFC just signed after the main card, the main fight. But these guys want to turn around. They're not saying, give me 6 months, give me 8 months, give me a year. Those days are over. They want to stay in the limelight. They want to keep making those checks, and they want quick turnaround times. And Donald Cerrone, he's old school. He's from the way old school, but he's one of those guys that really, that I can remember, has ever turned down a fight. So we need Donald Cerrone, and so I am hoping that he wins. I do like, and I like Nico Price too. I think he's a super exciting fighter, and I like him. He's young, he's energetic, but I'm wanting Donald Cerrone. I don't, if he loses this, based on what Dana said, are they going to give him his walking papers? I don't know. That's 6 fights in a row. I mean, that's hard to justify keeping somebody in the UFC, especially when they just released John Dodson. And, they just released him, I believe, yesterday. So going to be quite interesting to see what happens with Donald Cerrone after this fight, win or lose, okay? Win or lose. And I know if he wins, he's going to want a quick turnaround because he wants to be relevant in the UFC, all right? But his days of going for the belt are over. That ain't happening. All right, now let's talk to the main fight, the main event, and that's also a welterweight fight. This is Colby Chaos Covington versus Tyrone the Chosen One Woodley. Now, Covington's record is 15-2, dang good record, really, really good record. And Tyrone Woodley is 19-5, also a really good record. However, Tyrone Woodley has come off a couple of straight losses, and they haven't been pretty. He seems to be like a frozen, like a deer frozen in the headlights, man. He's not letting his hands go. He said, he's been training with Jorge Masvidal, who used to be good friends with Colby Covington. They used to actually be roommates, and he's training with him. Colby Covington left ATT for another gym because of all the animosity and the saltiness going on at that gym. So he left for another gym. And but it's interesting because Woodley has been grappling and working his wrestling and doing that kind of stuff with Masvidal. Will that help Woodley? I think Woodley's only problem is mental. I think that if he gets pushed up against the cage, if Covington, mauls him and pursues him, he's going to flip a switch in his brain. He either needs to go and let those hands fly, which he can put anybody's lights out with that right hand, or he's going to shut off and he's going to say, what am I doing here? How did I get here? Why am I here? And he'll freeze like he did with Usman and Gilbert Burns as well. I mean, they both shut him down completely. And I believe that the work ethic that Colby Covington is going to bring, he's going to just bring this cardio that is going to blow your mind. Now, normally Covington talks a lot of crap up to the, leading up to the fight, and he's doing a lot of talking and stuff like that. But this one, he seems to be concentrating on winning this fight. And so all of the antics, well, most of them have gone out the window. And he has just been quiet, which should make somebody a little nervous, that he's not talking a bunch of smack. He's going to go in there. He looked focused when they had they had one of the most intense, face-offs that I've seen in recent history. And interestingly enough, to me, Colby Covington looked bigger than Woodley. I mean, he looked bigger, and I'm sure that Woodley's going to come into the fight tonight bulked up because he's going to be rehydrated and all that good stuff, and he's going to look big. But Colby Covington looked pretty big. He said the stats say he's 2 inches taller. He looked a little bit taller than that than Woodley. So let's see what happens. Okay, let's get to it. Who am I going to pick? Well, I'm picking the same that a lot of the pros are picking, because a lot of them, I would say 80 to 85% of the pros picked Covington to win this. And they all said the same thing basically that I did, that if Woodley lets his hands go, he could knock him out. But they highly doubt that he's going to let his hands go, because he hasn't in the last 2 fights. And Covington is going to put on a higher pace than both Usman and Gilbert Burns, in my opinion, on Woodley. And so I think he's just going to swarm him. He's going to smother him. He's going to make him give up. Covington did say that he doesn't want it to go to a decision. Woodley said he's going to stiffen Covington, and he's going to have to go out on the stretcher. And Covington, in turn, said that he's going to knock Woodley out. Now, does he have the power to do that? In my opinion, no, he does not. Gilbert Burns called him pillow hands. He's not pillow hands, man, because if you can make the strikes enough to frustrate your fighter, and then you take him down time and time and time again, that's all you need, man. He needs the W, but he did say he wants to knock him out. Will he? I doubt it, but we'll see. Okay. He could choke him out. He could choke him out on the ground and get a TKO or a submission. That's possible, but knocking him out, I don't think so. Whereas Woodley can knock Covington out. Now, keep in mind, Covington did have a broken jaw in that Usman fight, or so they say. He says he didn't have a broken jaw, but they say he did have a broken jaw. Regardless, when your chin gets weak like that, you're susceptible. So he'll have to be careful when he's going in for those takedowns. And Woodley, the only thing I could say is let your hands go. But if he lets his hands go, he's susceptible to the takedown. So there you go. All right, you guys. So I'm picking Covington to win this one. And I think it's going to be by decision. And I think it's going to be probably in the 5th round. All right. I don't think it's going to end early, but it should be an exciting fight. I'm excited for it. Let's hope the best Woodley comes and the best Covington comes, so that we have the best main event fight ever. I'm looking forward to a lot of exciting fights in this huge card, massive card. It's going to be a long night, my friends. But we'll do our post-interview. Excuse me, not interview. I wish I could interview some of these guys. Our post-fight show on Sunday, and give you guys my thoughts on how that fight and how that card went. And then, of course, we got some big cards coming up. They're heading back to Fight Island, Yaz Island, and I think they're going to be there for a few weeks. And they're going to have a lot of good fights there. So there's great cards coming up. The UFC is doing it right, my friends. They're putting on the action. Everybody's watching, and they're making some really, really good moves. Now, I mentioned Michael Chandler, and Chandler, he was the champ with the Bellator, and now he moved over to the UFC. He was a free agent for a while, so he was testing the waters with PFL and one championship, and just kind of going around to see who's offering what and where his best opportunities are. Well, who had any doubt that he was going to, sign with the UFC, especially when they asked Dana White about rumblings of Chandler, and he said, yeah, I want to talk to the kid. When he says that, okay, they're going to be making deals, and there was a lot of negotiations going on. Now, what surprised a lot of people was that they signed him as a backup to the Khabib and Justin Gaethje fight on Yaz Island. And that raised a lot of eyebrows. Why? Why did they do that? Well, here's a couple of reasons, in my opinion. Okay, number one, Dustin Poirier already lost to Khabib, so they couldn't throw him in there as a backup if Justin Gaethje fell out. And this was all geared towards Khabib, in my opinion. Okay, and Tony Ferguson, they've been paired to fight 5 different times, him and Khabib, and it's never come to fruition. So that's just kind of a jinx type of a deal. But he also lost to Justin Gaethje. So it did not make any sense to have either one of those two as backups to this fight. Not that they would have taken it either. I don't know. They may have tried to ask them to be a backup, and they said, no, I'm not a backup for anybody. But then you got this dude, Michael Chandler, who was a champion in and of himself, and he's a good fighter. I really like to watch him fight. And they said, hey, you want to be a backup for this fight, and if something happens to either one of those, you're going to be fighting for a championship. How do you pass that up? So they threw him in the deep waters. Now, some people said they're doing this so that I think Kevin Lee said they're doing that to show Bellator that their champions are not as good as UFC champions. I don't believe that, because I believe that Chandler is so popular, very, very popular fighter. He's not there to stick it to Scott Coker. And in fact, if you look at the statistics of views and everything else, the UFC dwarfs Bellator. I like Bellator. I think they have some really great fighters, but they're not on the level of the UFC as far as popularity, as far as presence, as far as quality fighters and all that. I just don't think they're on the level. I think they have excellent fighters. Don't get me wrong. Their champions are really good. And they have good fighters, but the UFC, as far as their presence, their footprint, if you will, is much, much larger than Bellator's. It's larger than probably all the other ones put together. So the UFC is the big dog. There's just no doubt about that. Okay, there's no way around that. They're just the big dogs. So Chandler, he wants to test himself in the biggest platform in MMA, and that's the UFC. So there he is. So and he's willing. And what does Dana White like? He likes those fighters that are willing, that don't say no to fights, that will take a fight. And he, in this recent interview, he was talking about Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier, and he says, "Hey, if I offer you a fight and you say no, I'm moving on. I'm not waiting. I'm just moving on." And so that's what they're doing. They're just moving on. And you just have to. And that's easier said than done. If you're a fighter, and you feel like I've given the UFC great years of my life, and I've blood, sweat, and tears, and I deserve better. And good for them, good for them. I'm just saying that there are so many fighters coming out, especially with the Contender Series, just signing all these new fighters, man. They're going to start releasing a lot of the old school. I don't want to say the old fighters. It's not necessarily the old fighters, but they're going to start releasing to make room for these new contenders that are coming in. They have to reduce their payroll, so to speak, and start cutting people. So there's going to be huge mix-ups in the MMA world as they cut a lot of these fighters. Those fighters are going to go out and start looking at all these other organizations to see where they fit in and how they continue their career. So just because they get cut by the UFC does not mean that their careers are over. Not by a long shot. There's a lot of other organizations out there, quality organizations, Bellator, PFL, One Championship. There's a whole bunch of them, and there's smaller ones even. But here's the thing with the UFC. If you go out to another organization and you win, they'll invite you back. And that's happened to a number of fighters that have come back and successfully stayed in the UFC and started to win. They go out, hone their skills, and then come back and then start winning again. So it's never, never say never of coming back. So, and some people don't want to come back. They're happy in different organizations. They're happier. They feel like they get more respect. They feel like they're a bigger fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a giant pond. So, it all works. But I have respect for all fighters. I don't want to, down or degrade anybody because to fight, what does it take? Most of us don't have what it takes to fight like that, and most of us don't have what it takes to be expert or the best in the world at any given sport or any given industry. There's very few, and so you got to show respect for those guys. They're putting in their heart and their minds and their blood, sweat, tears, and souls into this. So, but I'm looking forward to this fight. I've rambled on quite enough, and you guys have a wonderful day. Watch for the post-fight show, and we'll see how this thing shakes out. I'm curious on my picks. Okay, I picked every single fighter, and we'll see what happens. See if I'm any good or not. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Knuckle Sandwich. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Knuckle Sandwich because I need your votes. I need your thumbs up. I need you to click. All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one and keep punching. Boom.